Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Chelsea, and welcome to
Nick and Chelsea's Gen Excellent Adventure,
where we chronicle 50-something parents of a 5-year-old as we move from the USA to the UAE.
You can also follow our journey on our Instagram page, Nick Chelsea's Gen Excellent Adventure, or just type in the name of our podcast. If you have any questions or subjects you'd like us to address, go ahead and send them to us through our Instagram page.
Exactly. Okay, so this is the beginning of our Spain series.
Yeah.
We are not sure how many there will be in the series yet, but we think maybe 3.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were there for so long. We were there for 5 weeks.
Right.
So that's a lot of stuff to cover.
It is. But we have broken down not a lot, but we've got this episode figured out. So, but there'll be some more, and hopefully it's interesting.
Yes. But before we really get started on the Spain stuff, why don't we go ahead and just kind of give us a quick update of what's going on here in Dubai?
Yes. Okay. So the first thing is we are back in school this week.
Yeah. So I think in our last update, we had gotten back here, and it was pretty quick after we had gotten back from Spain.
Yeah, we did our episode and we were like, hey, we're back in school.
Yeah.
And now we're saying it again.
Because I counted it out. It was 10 days. We had 10 days we were back in Dubai.
10 days in Dubai, 6 days in school.
Before the alerts went off again.
That's right.
And they didn't just go off. They went off over and over and over again one night.
Yeah, thankfully it was only one night, but then they closed schools for the rest of the week and we did it online again. And there were a few other things that happened, but they weren't near us.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that, like you say, we only got the alerts in the one night. They came, it was really quite something to get them as frequently as we did.
I know. We were like, oh my gosh, it's again.
It was more frequent than we had gotten them before we left.
Yeah. Well, I think it was very much like that first couple days, but we hadn't been around it in so long. We have differing opinions on this.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was alarming and it just kind of threw you back a little bit. But then the rest of the week was much calmer.
Well, and the other thing I would say is, I don't know about you, but I never really heard anything.
No, I didn't either. I heard other people talk about things here and there, but it just wasn't even close to what I was seeing before. So this was a lot better. If people are interested in that stuff, you know, when we know it's happening, we post it, like what's allowed through the government. I do post it on our page in the stories. And so there was a little bit last week, but again, we haven't seen anything this week. And on Sunday afternoon, they made the call that we'd be back in school.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we are back in school, but for 4 days it was remote learning again.
Yep.
How was it being back working remote again from back here in the apartment?
Yeah, it was fine. Easier because I didn't have to get up for a 6 a.m. start or, 5:30 a.m. start. But it's, and I could take a walk before work because of that. Mm-hmm. In Spain, I would never have taken a walk before 6. But also it was dark until like 8:30. Yeah. So here it's light when you get up. So it's fine. Yeah,
it's pretty remarkable how different the timing is in terms of sunrise and sunset here versus there where we were in Spain.
Yeah, very, very different.
It was very much an early sunrise and earlier sunset here.
Yeah.
And it was much later there in Spain.
Both ways. Yeah, it was really interesting. But I did kind of miss getting out so early. Like that was really nice. But it was nice because it's hot and humid here. You know, you don't want to take a walk later unless it's at night. So you're taking walks in the morning. I liked that. So I was like, when we went back to work, 3 of us who all work together were like, oh man, we can't do our walks anymore because we'd all been taking morning walks. And I was getting karak. I was walking down to Greenland and getting karak. And I was like, this is kind of nice actually. So it was okay for me in general. Not all of my students showed for meetings, but the ones that do, I can do the same meeting. It's not hard. But it's harder for you because you have tea.
Yeah. Well, and then one nice thing though is you talked about you getting out.
Yeah.
So we got him out.
Yeah.
One thing that I did not think we were going to be able to do much of after we got back because of it being hotter when we got back was getting T out on his bike. I figured we might have one last chance to go ahead and get a bike ride in before we put it away for the rest of the summer. But because we were up in the mornings and, it's like if you're going to get outside, the morning is the time to do it before the heat comes in.
Yeah.
So we ended up like heading out to the pond park to go biking pretty much every morning that week.
Yeah, which is amazing. And you'd stay there much later than I would have anticipated. Like you were coming back in a heat, but you guys did okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of remarkable how well adjusted he's gotten to the weather conditions here.
Yeah, when I went to the pond park with him on Saturday, he was fine. I was like, oh my gosh, this is hard. This is not the same as a 7 a.m. walk. But yeah, I mean, he's doing pretty well with it.
But needless to say, there was a part of me that was very, very happy when they went back in person.
Of course. And the other thing about last week is you could go over to our neighbors down the road and use their pool with them. And we didn't have that before. You know, we were like relying on play dates, but they were never people we knew well. So that was nice this time to have, you know, people we know well available.
And people he was excited to go see.
Yeah. And so basically Monday was scary. The rest of the week was calm. It was an okay week. It's not ideal. I mean, like you're not getting any time to yourself when we do that. And I am getting work time, but that walk gave me time to myself. So anyway, the other thing I would say that's negative about it is you've stopped being so obsessed with the news and now you're like, oh, now I'm checking the news all the time again, you know? And so, and we're all kind of, I feel like I'm still in that place, but I'm trying to slow it down again, you know?
Yeah, it was a nice little reminder. You know, we've basically kind of gotten back to life as normal here.
Yeah.
But it was a little reminder that there's still conflict going on very close to where we're at.
Yeah.
So it just let us just kind of give us the reminder that that's still going on, and you know, just got to kind of be vigilant about things.
Yeah, and you got to roll with it.
But again, we are basically more or less back to living life as normally as possible.
Right. Like we went out, you know, we went out, we've been going out, we've been doing things. So we're not avoiding all the things. We've gone to the beach, you know.
That week plus that we were here before we left, I mean, we were more or less staying inside the whole time.
Right. We like just barely ventured out for neighborhood walks like in the last couple days. But this time we're like, it's different.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot different. I mean, we're not getting alerts every day. That's part of it. And if we were, we probably wouldn't be venturing out the same way.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's sort of the way things are going for us personally right now.
Yep.
But let's go ahead and head on back to España.
España, where they speak Espanol, but we do not.
So let's kind of get back to right at the beginning. So the first 2 weeks we were gone.
Yeah.
That was basically spring break.
Yeah.
And we spent the first 3 nights in the UK.
Yeah. In the Lake District. And then
after that, we moved on to Trier, Germany, where we stayed with my cousin.
Yeah. They've lived in Trier for 2 years.
And so let's start there. So we're in Trier, and we're trying to figure out, okay, so what do we do when spring break is over and have to start working again? So
we knew I had to start working in particular, and T would have online school. We weren't going to fuss too much about his online school, but we did want him to be able to do the work. But especially my job. Like I had to be able to get work in a quiet space. Right. So I say all that because Whitney had said, well, you can stay as long as you need. You don't have to rush out of here, which is so kind and they're so generous. But we did. Yeah. We had to go somewhere.
Yeah, it was not going to work. Even with having a room that we were able to use there, it just was not going to be very practical for you to be able to get the kind of quiet and the what's it called?
Confidential meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
As we switch to our taboo roles there.
Confidential meetings. Yeah. Impossible.
Yeah.
So, so no, we did. And of course, if we were in a dire straits, we would have stayed, but we were thankfully lucky. So we had to figure it out.
Yeah. And you really did the work in figuring that out.
Yeah.
And so let's take us through your thought process in terms of how you kind of arrived on Spain.
Okay. So I don't have it super clear in my head, like exactly why, but I know the main reasons, and it was from doing research. So I kept sitting down and doing like sporadic research at different times when I wasn't exhausted. And in the end, Spain was because it was cheaper than where we were. Mm-hmm. There weren't a lot of other places we could go that were cheaper. Probably Portugal would have been an option, but Spain was more appealing because at least I took Spanish. At least I took Spanish. I actually looked up where there were Gaelics, like GAAs around. And so there was one in Luxembourg because Trier is really close to Luxembourg. And there was 2 in the Malaga region where I targeted it and of Spain. And they both, one of the ones in Malaga had a kids club. One did not. And they wrote me back right away. The Luxembourg people also wrote me back a few days later. Anyway, nice to know those things existed so we could bring T for some familiarity in athletics. So that was part of it. I was looking at GAAs around Europe. And then I chose Malaga itself as opposed to other parts of Spain, mainly because I had just heard there were loads of expats there. And I was like, okay, expats or immigrants, like people visiting for long term or people moving there. And so I thought, okay. And because of that, I knew there were plenty of English speakers because these people had moved from all over Europe and that's the common language if they don't speak Spanish. So then I found, as I always find my resources through Facebook groups, I found a Facebook group.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's let people know. So we talk about Malaga region.
Yeah.
Where is the Malaga region in Spain?
Oh, great. It's called the Costa del Sol. So it's basically the southern coast of Spain, the sunny coast, the coast of the sun. And it's beautiful. I had never been there. So my only experience in Spain prior, and wait, where had you been in Spain?
Long time ago, I was in Madrid.
And that was when you were a kid?
Yes. Okay. And so nowhere near the coast.
Yeah. And it's 5 hours from. 5 hours is not bad, but it's 5 hours from. And then the other part I'd been in was Barcelona with a few nights in San Sebastian. And that was almost 20 years ago. And I loved that region. It's changed a lot, I've heard. But I also knew that in Barcelona in particular, they do not like all the tourists right now. There's been riots and protests about it. And I was like, we can't go there. We can't go there. So I knew, because I loved it. I would have loved to go there. But anyway, so chose Malaga because of that and just targeted it.
Well, and the other thing I'll mention that I know that was important is we had to be within a pretty reasonable time difference range from Dubai.
Right. So the UK, so we had talked about going to Ireland too, because we were like loads of GAA, English, easy. It's a beautiful country, but it would have been like, we started off being in Spain and most of Europe 3 hours behind Dubai, but in Ireland it would have been 4.
Yeah.
And so that was starting to feel, and it's so expensive in Ireland too. That was another part of it.
Well, and then so we were there for a week and it was 3 hours.
And then
difference.
It switched
and
to
then
2.
They had daylight savings time, and that changed it to 2. So
really made a big difference.
For the most of the time we were there, it was a 2-hour time difference. Earlier, so it meant that you'd have to get up early to go ahead and get to work and everything. But at least within a reasonable realm of not too inconvenient.
Right.
We know people who were dialing in from a lot farther away.
I mean, Kansas City. Yeah.
New Zealand.
Yeah. Really dealing with a different type of thing. So we were pretty fortunate for that. The other thing is we would have loved to stay, and we might have mentioned this in the last episode. We would have loved to stay near our relatives. We would have loved that, because T was happy around those kids, and that just would have made life, I think, a little bit nicer for everyone. But it was just so much more expensive. Like when I started searching for places, both just like to rent and to Airbnb, either one, like it was just crazy difference in price.
Yeah.
So we couldn't do it.
Yeah. So Malaga region of Spain it is.
Yes.
So off we go.
Yeah. So we got a flight from Luxembourg to Malaga. I had rented a car ahead of time through, again, I used that there's like an Expats in Malaga Facebook page. And I asked a lot of questions there. Like everything we did was basically through answers there in getting our stuff, kind of. And we just rented a car, Malaga car, and they're very basic. It was a stick shift. We're very grateful for that.
Well, we're very grateful that we had gotten practice.
Yes, all right, yes,
on manual transmission
exactly.
when we rented a car in Trier for a few days, and that set us up to be able to be somewhat comfortable on the manual transmission there once we got to the Malaga region.
Yeah. So a couple of people asked us, "Did you guys use public transportation? Did you rent a car? Like, what did you do?" And 100% we rented a car.
Yeah, I don't think that where we were at would have. Well, I mean, I guess maybe we would have been able to do it. We would have been using the buses.
Just like what we said about Germany, we're weak Northwesterners. Like, we're used to cars. It definitely shortens the time, and I think that's a big part of it is convenience for us. We're so used to convenience.
Mm-hmm. And then, we settled in not knowing how long we were going to be there.
Right.
So we had to make trips to the hypermarket.
Right.
That wouldn't have been very easy to do.
No,
I don't think if we were taking public transportation
or the mall, or there's a lot of other things that made it like the GAA, like all these different reasons that it was good that we had a car, for sure. And what I learned is that car company is very popular with tourists, and there's lots of tourists that visit. I said Malaga car.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's very popular, and I did not renew it. Like, you can only get it for 30 days max, I think, at a time, and you cannot renew the same car. So you have to reserve another car. And I made the mistake of not doing that soon enough. So then when we tried to get a new car, we didn't have one.
Well, that'll be a story for
we'll tell that
episode.
Later. I know, but I just wanted to mention that in case anybody is going to rent cars for long term, you've got to plan ahead. Don't do what I did.
One thing I also want to mention is that when we flew into the airport in Malaga, so the airport is Malaga is both kind of a region and a city.
Yeah, right.
And the airport is, I don't think, technically in Malaga.
I don't think so either.
It's a little bit outside.
As most airports are.
So it's sort of a regional airport.
Right, right.
And it is by far the busiest airport that we have experienced through this whole adventure.
Yeah, because we were at Manchester, which is a smaller airport. Luxembourg is this really little airport.
Even Dubai International.
Well, that's true.
I mean, I know that there were circumstances each time we've been there that kind of impact things, but I mean, it was hopping. I mean, we flew in on a Sunday morning, I think it was, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was just blown away by just how crowded it was in there. Yeah.
And how smoky. Not inside, but it just was, because the doors would go revolving and there's so many smokers in Spain. We can talk more about that at another time, but yeah, it was an interesting experience to go from these quiet spaces to like a really bustling scene, but also kind of fun.
Yeah. So we arrive, we land, we gather our things, we go to go rent our car, and that's when we first find out. So, are we going to be able to get by on our English, or are we going to have to figure out some Spanish?
What do you think?
What do I think about whether we're
like now, like how did you feel about it then?
Well, okay. First of all, we were okay. I mean, you were able to get the car, no problem. It wasn't like you
all
didn't
those
have
people speak English.
Anybody speaking English there. But I will say that I definitely felt at times like I couldn't communicate.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that was jarring.
Yeah.
Trying to just like, for example, like the places where tourists would go, like a rental car place, the people speak English.
Yeah.
You go to the places that aren't necessarily catering just to the tourists, and that's when you run into people who are only speaking Spanish.
The local grocery store, it's like half and half there. Yeah, totally. And I think you were more intimidated by it because you hadn't taken Spanish since what, like?
I would say 8th grade.
Yeah, and then you just had like not even a year of it.
And well, it was not.
Like everyone did like this basic beginner stuff. Yeah,
very, very beginner.
Yeah, and I took 3 years of it in high school, and I finished in junior year, and then I had to retake a quarter of it in college. I was never very good at it. My sister's, she wouldn't say fluent, but I'll say like the minute she's around it, she becomes fluent. She's a languages person. I felt very intimidated by language. But I got kind of excited about it.
Well, and I will say, I was impressed at how you were able to figure out a way to at least communicate in somewhat to Spanish speakers.
Nick might be the only person impressed by my Spanish, but yeah, no, I think I took opportunities to try. And then it did not always work out as planned. Like I would stand, I mean, because most of the way you have to try is by ordering things. There's not a lot of other opportunities unless you're having an actual conversation with somebody, which I wasn't generally doing. But I would try. I would wait. I would sit in line and I would practice my order. And then I would get there. I think I might have mentioned this before, but then I would get there and then they would respond to me in Spanish. And I was like, oh, like I got the order down. I didn't have the potential follow-up question and answer down. Shoot. And then I'd switch to English and they'd answer me in English. And I was like, well, that was nice that they thought I spoke Spanish. Anyway, I did enjoy that. And I found myself like really excited to try it. There were just a couple experiences where I got to practice it a little bit more. And I thought, if we were in a situation where I could learn Spanish in a place, I would take it. Like I would take classes. This is exciting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And T was getting excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was starting to like, what is that word? What is that word? He was asking questions.
Yeah. It took a while for him to really warm up to the circumstances, but he did get there.
Yeah. He wasn't really intimidated by it at first, but then by the end, he was playing with kids who only spoke Spanish.
And he was saying, sí.
And he was
all
like
over
really,
the place.
He was saying, and he was really proud of it. And then he was always counting in Spanish, 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was actually very sweet. He would pick it up so quickly if that were a situation.
So we went to,
I will add to that though.
Yeah.
Because the other thing about Malaga is, per that expat page and other things you see out there, because there's so many expats and immigrants living in Malaga and visiting from all over, especially the UK and English-speaking countries, so many people speak English. So so it might not be that the locals speak English, but I mean, it might not be that the born Spaniards speak English, but so many other people do. So you can meet people who don't speak an ounce of Spanish and are living there, and you can talk with them.
Well, I remember when at the apartment we ended up at, we were in the elevator with somebody, and they started asking us questions in Spanish, and we said, no, we speak English.
English?
And she went, oh, thank you, goodness. Because it turned out she was from the Netherlands, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
there's a big Dutch community in that region too. I think around Marbella in particular, and just Scandinavian community.
So speaking of Marbella, so that's one of the cities or towns that's there in the Malaga region.
Yep.
We did not stay in Malaga, the city.
Right.
Where did we end up?
We ended up in a town called Benalmadena. And I think it's taken me so long to just say it with the accent in the right place. But I have spelled it lots of times. I finally learned how to find a letter with an accent on it. My sister helped me. But Benalmadena is about a half hour from Malaga.
Yeah, it's to the southwest of Malaga city, but right on the coast.
Yeah. What we have learned is people don't use the term south or west. They just say on the Marbella side, or on the, they use like the name of a town that people will know.
Right.
On
it's usually the very next town. And if I could remember, I would tell you what it was for our side.
Torremolinos.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay. Yeah. Like, so on the Torremolinos side, and we're like, yeah. So Benalmadena actually borders Torremolinos. Yes. And we were very close to the border. Mm-hmm. And I just picked it because, again, thank you, Facebook groups. I asked people where we should look for a couple months stay while we tried to wait out the war. And I mentioned that we had a 5-year-old kid, and so where they could find other kids to play with. And some people mentioned some other things. Some people sent me some listings, but a few people said, look in Benalmadena because there's the Parque de la Paloma, which if you follow our Instagram page, you've seen us post about a lot. It's an amazing park. And we'll talk more about that later, but there are tons of kids who just go there and play on the playground. It's a really lovely playground. And so that's what people said. You'll just see people congregating there after school or even during the school day. And so I was like, okay. So I just started looking there. I don't know where else to look. I was given a couple other towns, but that one seemed smart. Okay. Well, just, you got to narrow it down somehow. So that's how.
And teaser to a future episode, probably spent more time at Parque de la Paloma than anywhere else.
Yeah.
During our trip, at least me and T did.
Yeah, for sure, and rightfully so. Like I would say we all have a very fond affection for that park, and so does almost everybody who lives in the region. I mean, it's an amazing park.
If there was one other place that we spent as much time, well, I mean, we were very close to the beach.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, and probably the beach, which is funny because as far as beaches go, it's a lovely beach. We spent one day digging in the sand, bought some sand toys, dug in the sand, and the whole rest of the time did not go in the sand once. But the beach is lovely. We were 5 minutes from it.
Yes.
I did not know that, even though I looked at where the place was on a map and all of that. I had no idea it was truly that close.
Yeah. A 5-minute walk.
Amazing.
It was very, very convenient. Another thing that we'll get to at some point, had lots of workout equipment.
Lots of
down
workout.
at the beach.
So much, yeah.
That became quite important to our son.
Yes, of course. He's obsessed. But we'll talk more about that later. But it was a nice space for just a walk. It took a couple weeks, but I got into a walking routine, not every day, depending on how my meetings went, but most days I could find a 30-minute time during the day, like a lunch break or something, and I would take a walk. And I would just go to the beach almost every time. And I was like, this is great. Okay. I'm not sad about it.
Talking about walks, walks to the beach, time at the park, we should mention what the weather was like while we were there.
What was the weather like?
So for those of us from the Pacific Northwest, I would say you could not have come up with a better set of weather conditions than what we experienced during our time there on the Costa del Sol.
It was sunny California weather.
But I mean, it wasn't hot.
Yeah.
I mean, we were...
That's true.
Sunshine probably 90% of the time we were there.
Yeah.
At least 90%.
It kind of reminded me of LA in March.
Well, and then the temperatures were, and I go back to my American Fahrenheit numbers, they were in the high 60s or low 70s.
It was perfect, and it was not humid.
I mean, it's the kind of temperature or weather you could go out. If you wanted to wear, a light hoodie, you'd be fine in it. If you wanted to wear shorts and a t-shirt, you'd be fine in it.
Yeah, you go down to the beach and a lot of people are actually in their beach clothes, and they were fine because there did seem to be a block from wind down there. Mm-hmm. You might be somewhere else and it felt windier and a little cooler, maybe on our balcony, for instance. Then you'd go down there and you were like, oh, so warm. Where's my sundress? Yeah, it was nice.
And I mean, funny for me to say after spending 7+ months in Dubai here, where it's just sun and heat the whole time.
Yeah.
I got more tan in Spain than I have here in Dubai.
Because you wanted to be outside. It was just such a difference. And you had to be outside. You just needed to use that time with tea that way. Mm-hmm. And that's where you do it. Yeah, we had a couple gray and rainy days, not that many. We're fine with that, no big deal. But there's not as much to do, for sure, unless you're in the city, with the rain. Everybody does outside stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to do something when I'm working. So you have to leave for part of the time. Because we'll talk more about the apartment itself, but there were some reasons it was helpful for you to be gone for part of that time.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was It was gorgeous and beautiful the whole time we were there.
Yeah.
Cannot complain about that aspect at all.
Oh, and found out from our host in the UK that Spain is the most visited place from the UK.
Should also mention that it was a pretty stark contrast from where we had been.
Yes, right.
In the UK, where it was
winter hats and
cold and
rain
and windy.
Yeah, wind storms.
And Germany, where it was more or less the same.
But
maybe a little less cold.
Yeah, and a little less gray.
But not a whole lot different. I mean, it was still jacket and
it was winter into spring weather, where we were in full spring into summer weather. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can see why this is the UK's favorite spot. And you heard British and Irish accents everywhere.
Well, and I mean, that brings up an important point. As we have mentioned in previous episodes, we packed pretty light, and we packed having to, not knowing whether we were going to good weather or bad weather.
Yeah.
I should say you had to go out and get more warm weather clothes.
Yeah, and that was my first venture to Primark.
Because we were not able to bring enough to where we were going to have to settle in somewhere.
Yeah, like I had bought some cold weather clothes in Germany, and then we got to Spain. I was like, oh, now we need some warm. But thankfully, Primark is cheap, and we managed.
Well, what's Primark?
Primark is a UK department store. It just opened in the UAE, actually, so there's lots of people obsessed with that. But it's really kind of like a Target, but without the food. Like it's not really Target, but like the clothing part of Target is kind of how it feels. Or like Target meets, I don't know. Don't you kind of feel like it feels a little bit like Target? I mean, the prices are a little bit like Target.
Yeah, well, that was the important thing, is that we were able to get things at a pretty reasonable rates. Yeah. I know that you got me a couple of shirts that came in at like €6 or something like that.
Yeah, you're just like Nick was like, why are you buying me shirts? And then I was like, they're so cheap. Just like, here you go. And I think like I got some pajamas and just some different things. But not a ton, but just enough to like fill it out so we didn't have to wear the same thing every single day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, grateful for it. Yeah. So Primark.
Okay.
So now you know.
Yep. Now let's talk a little bit about the apartment you were able to procure for us.
Yeah.
We didn't know how long we were going to be in Spain for.
No.
So we had to, or I should say you had to take into account, can we get a spot if we end up having to stay for a while?
Right. Could we get a spot for 2 months, which would be using up our EU days?
Right. The number of days that a tourist visa would count for us being able to stay within the EU.
It's 90 days. So we'd used some in Germany.
I thought it was 60 days.
No, it's 90 days.
Okay.
We'd used some in Germany, and the UK, of course, didn't count. That's its own, but we had until like early June, like a week into June. And so I wanted to be able to get something through the end of May.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did find someone, but it was another, again, I looked on the Facebook groups, but I also just did an AI search, and AI said, here are these these sites that people in Spain use to find apartments. And one was called Fotocasa, and one was called Idealista or Idealista. And so I started looking on those things and then sending messages if I was interested in an apartment, but then people weren't really writing me back. So then I posted on the Malaga expats page, and I was like, hey, I've been sending these messages and blah, blah, blah. And basically everyone on that page was like, oh no, those sites are for people who live in Spain. Like they're not going to rent to somebody who's not here for like less than 3 months. Cause I was like, I'm looking for 2 months. And so they were like, you're going to need to do Airbnb. And I was like, Airbnb prices are not what I'm looking for right now. I can't really do it. Anyway, somebody did write me back eventually on one of those apartments, and I didn't need all of them. I just needed one, and she was lovely. And so we mostly wrote, she's a native Spanish speaker, but speaks some English. And so we mostly WhatsApped back and forth, and she rented us a place, and she worked as a manager of some apartments for this larger company, that basically manages multiple buildings for different owners. So that worked out really, really well. She said, you can do 1 month if you want. You could do 2 months if you want. You know, it's up to you. In the end, 2 months at this rent, plus the fees, all of that, was cheaper than 1 month Airbnb.
Yeah.
So even if we'd done 1 month, of course, we would have saved some money because we rented for 2 thinking we'd be there. And we left early, but still it was worth the risk. It was still cheaper, still cheaper than an Airbnb.
Yeah. So we got a 2-bedroom apartment in a building that was about 5 stories?
I think it was just 4 stories, 4 or 5. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
And it had its own garage.
Yeah.
Which we did not know at the time. But
I didn't know to look for that.
But that saved us.
Really, it truly. These are narrow streets and tight spots.
but there's no parking. I mean, the spots are all taken all the time. So if we had to park out on the streets, we would have been back in my college days and my 20-something days where I was driving around and around, parking 3 blocks away from my home. Yeah, no, we didn't have to do that. We were so grateful. Yeah.
And the garage was not full.
And the apartment, I mean, it was a nice apartment.
Yeah, it was completely decent.
So it had a pretty large living / dining area.
Yeah.
That was spacious and had a pretty substantial deck off of the end of it. We had the kitchen was narrow, but large enough for what we needed to do.
Yeah, it was plenty big for us.
The bedrooms worked out. There was a smaller bedroom that T was able to use that had 2 twin beds in it.
I mean, if we had a second kid or a friend, like, it would have been perfect.
And then had a primary suite that we ended up using.
Yep.
And then there's another deck off of that bedroom.
Yeah.
That we never really used, but it was there.
Yeah. And then there was a second bathroom, like right across from him. So we had the ensuite bathroom and then we had his bathroom. There were some things, you know, but it's for a short-term rental, like, amazing. Yeah. Yeah. And again, 5 minutes from the beach. It had a full kitchen. I liked that and appreciated that. We bought a couple things because the pans were actually pretty nice and we didn't want to scratch them up and they only had like scratch up spatulas. So you bought like a silicone spatula. We bought a couple things that we needed to cook, but not that much really. Yeah. They didn't have any dish towels. So you bought a couple of those. And there's some other things that we'll talk about with the Boguses and whatnot. But overall, it was a great spot.
With one exception that we understand now is just typical of Spain. Right. One thing we got used to here in Dubai is even though excuse me. Bless you. Even though we are apartment living.
Excuse me again.
Even though we are apartment living, we're pretty well insulated sound-wise from all of our neighbors.
Yes, absolutely. It took a few months to realize, oh no, they really can't hear our child screaming. Like, these doors are thick. The walls are thick. Yeah, they do a good job with that.
But from what we now understand, that is just not the way construction is done in Spain.
Yeah, and I think there maybe newer buildings are better from what I've heard. But like if it's been a building that's been around for a while, then they're paper thin walls. Yeah. And that goes bad insulation. So if it's colder than normal, people are really cold. There can be mold issues. Like, you hear these stories. But for what we needed at that moment, it was perfect.
You mentioned T.
Yeah.
You know, this whole process has been a challenge for him.
Oh, for sure.
Because he's, being uprooted. Yeah. This was the 3rd time he had been displaced. Yeah. Poor kid. In 2 weeks. Yeah. And so, that amount of change is hard for anyone, let alone a 5-year-old who hadn't 100% settled into this new situation in his new home already. Yeah. So, he had his tantrums.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I shudder to think about what the neighbors in the building thought was going on there.
Yeah, one neighbor came and knocked on the door, not because of a tantrum, but because I think he was like doing PE jumping.
Well, it's the first day of school.
Yeah.
And I was at that point, like at least trying to get him to go in and log in and do what was happening in school a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But this was 2 hours early.
Yeah.
Earlier than when the start. So we're getting started at 6 a.m.
Right.
And, that first day he had PE really early.
Yeah.
And he was quite enthusiastic about it, which is good. But it was making noise for the people downstairs.
Yeah, it was like 7:20 or something.
And as we came to learn, life starts a little later in Spain.
Starts a lot later. And I felt really bad for him because that became a reason he didn't want to join PE after that. And so, what are you going to do? It was a shame because he really struggled being online, especially in that space. I think he did better last week, but yeah, he really struggled with that. And we're just trying to like get a little bit of normalcy. And we're like, people must really think we're like really having a hard time over here. Well, we are. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention about that space was the microwave that was there was super old.
Yeah, you had a moment.
Yeah.
Didn't you have a moment when we were out of the apartment?
Yeah. When you guys were?
Yeah.
And first you said it the day before. And I was like, okay, whatever. You mentioned something about, I think it's smoking. And I was like, no. And then I used it. I was like, oh, like it's burning. Something it is red somewhere in there. And so I used it twice, but not for very long. Because at the second time I was like aware.
Yeah, because we came back and like all the windows were open.
Yeah. I was like, this is not good. And then I started to freak out. What if it blows up? So anyway, and then I messaged the gal I'd been working with, and she was lovely. And I said, I don't know what's wrong, but I'm happy to like send a video to you. I can do it again, but although I'm a little scared to use it again. And you know what? She replaced it the next day. Mm-hmm. So they were great to work with. I was really appreciative of that. And they didn't charge us for anything. And you got a lot of the deposit back. Oh, this is something interesting. The way they do a deposit is you put money down, and then when they're giving you the deposit back, they just take out what utilities are owed. Mm. So they look at your utility bills, they see how much you use. So like electric, and they said it's not that, and the electric's not that expensive there. So it really wasn't that much. You still got a fair amount back.
I can't even remember what the actual deposit was that we put down in the first place.
But you ended up getting like €800 back. Something like that. Anyway, it was okay. It was better than expected. So that's just a way I'm assuming is typically done. Mm-hmm. So the other couple things is just like we already talked about how close it was to the beach. What's the other part of Benalmadena that we could walk to? Like, what are the other things? We walked one way to the beach and we walked the other way to the business kind of.
Well, we were there near the marina.
Yeah, I was talking about the other direction up by the stores.
Yeah.
So that was also kind of nice.
Yeah. There was a main street there that we were basically 2 blocks off of.
Yeah.
That we could go to, and that's where all the kind of tourist commercial stuff was.
Yeah.
So lots of restaurants.
Mediocre restaurants.
We had a couple of markets there that we could go ahead and get groceries at.
Yeah, that was nice. There's a Carrefour Express.
Yeah, that we could walk to. So. And
then a couple local smaller places.
Mm-hmm. So we were able to, keep ourselves supplied as long as we weren't going on Sunday.
Yeah. Yes. Learned that. Don't try to go anywhere on Sundays. But what I really appreciated just being able to walk places.
And Sundays because almost everything was closed on Sundays.
Yes, exactly. Very similar to Germany.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that kind of covers the logistics of getting ourselves to Spain and settled into Spain. I guess that means that we have reached the time for our regular segment on the podcast.
We have one regular segment, people. Guess what it is?
It's our Excellents and Boguses of I guess this aspect of being in Spain.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to go first?
Okay, so let's start with my excellent. And so for me, one of the aspects that we had while we were there in Spain is the apartment in the primary suite bathroom,
right,
had a bathtub.
Yes.
So here in Dubai, we do not have a bathtub.
It's so sad.
And so T has been taking showers, which is fine. I mean, he's okay with doing showers, and he's gotten fairly good at it. I mean, he can do it on his own now, for the most part, usually with a little supervision, but he's able to do it if you have to, although sometimes I'll still go in with him.
Yeah.
But he really enjoys a bath.
Oh, he loves a bath.
And so...
and it calms him down.
Yeah, and so he got some really good opportunity to have bath time there in Spain.
Yeah.
We went out and, first of all, the first time we just used some kitchen utensils for him to play with there.
Right.
Because we didn't have much. We didn't have anything.
Yeah.
But we went out and got some bath toys, and he was able to use those in the bath. It was a little complicated, which we'll get to a little later. But we figured out a way to make it work out, and he had some really nice calm moments, and that was important because I think that he needed those calm moments while we were there in Spain.
Yeah. Agreed.
So that's my excellent. How about you?
Okay. Well, I know we've talked about this, but I'm going to say it again. I had no idea we were so close to the beach. And my excellent was being able to get there so quickly. Mm-hmm. Just in general, like, I love water.
Yeah.
I love water. It soothes my soul. There were a couple times where I took walks the other direction and I was like, not as satisfying. And then I would go back to the beach to come back because I was like, nope, give me the water. I love water, and there's other parts of Benalmadena that I would have loved to stay into up in the Pueblo area, but as long as you had maybe views of the water. But being so close to the water just made me really happy.
Well, and it was a really good walking beach too. I mean, they had a walking path right there along the sand, and then they had the elevated
boardwalk.
Yeah. Where, you have all the shops and the restaurants there, but you're walking along the promenade as you're doing it. So it was a really good setting for being able to enjoy kind of strolling along there at the beach.
Absolutely. And lots of people are doing it. So it just feels nice. So that's my excellent. I know I'd already talked about it, but I'll just reiterate that. Mm-hmm. Okay. What's your bogus?
Well, the apartment came with things, but I would say it was pretty sparse in terms of the whether it was kitchen utensils, so forth there. And one thing that they were sparse on was towels. Yeah. And that included bath towels, kitchen towels, whatever. But I think the main thing would be the bathroom towels. Right. The biggest thing is that there were no bathroom towels that were large enough to actually use as a towel for you or me.
Yeah, there was no adult sized.
The only thing we found was one beach towel.
Yeah.
That you ended up using as your towel.
I said, that's mine, thank you.
While we were there. I use, basically what is a hand towel sized towel.
Maybe
pretty
a little
much.
bit bigger.
A little bit bigger than that, but
it's basically this half the size of what we would say is a normal bath towel.
Yeah. I mean, it was it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't ideal.
And we considered buying towels, and then you can get the kind that are pack awayable and all of that, but it just was like, no, we can make do for however long we're here. This is fine. But yeah, that was so towels.
So had to survive not having a towel big enough to really dry my body after I was done getting clean. Yeah. Which, given how much time we were spending at the beach and such, that was an issue because there's a lot of need to get rid of sand.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so there's my bogus. What about you?
My bogus is basically water. The hot water tank in general was the tiniest thing I've ever seen.
I mean, I remember the first time I opened up that cupboard in the kitchen and looked at it and goes, oh my goodness. Wow. I mean, it is probably about a third or a fourth the size of what our hot water heater was in our house in Seattle.
Yeah. And I sent that photo. I think I posted that photo and someone was like, that's big for Europe. I was like, no, it's not. We've been in different places and we've never had a problem with water because I think a lot of places have just transitioned to tankless. And I was like, okay, now that's what you should do here. So there was no way to take a shower with hot water the whole time. Even when you turned it off for half the time, it was still getting cold by the end of your shower. And you had to turn it off. And you couldn't turn it to a trickle. You had to turn it off, which is a little tricky when you're shaving and you have to like turn it off and on. Anyway, I started shaving on different days and I was like, oh, this is kind of annoying. But along with the water thing, that was probably the biggest issue because you have to share it with the dishwasher, etc.
Right. We had to be very strategic about washing dishes or doing laundry. Is anyone going to be showering today? And if so, and then we got to leave enough time in between things for it to heat back up again.
Yeah.
I was very grateful that it was warm.
Yes.
Temperatures because turning the water off in the shower, if it had been like winter or cold or anything like that, that would have been pretty miserable. Thankfully, it wasn't that cold.
Yeah.
So turning it off was okay.
Yeah. But then we talked about how much T loves a bath. We had to literally heat pots of water to give him like a full enough bath.
Yeah. I mean, it was, it
was funny.
Start to fill up the bath, but you better be having those big pots. And thankfully there were a number of big pots that we could use to go ahead and bring, heated up water from the kitchen to supplement what was going on in the tub. And it would take like 10, 15 minutes just to get enough water where the tub was filled to a decent level for him. Yeah. And still be reasonably warm. Yeah. And I'm trying to heat this up quickly so that it doesn't suddenly turn cold in between bringing new pots of hot water over. It was a process.
And then you wanted like an extra pot to rinse his hair out when you do the shampoo. Yeah, it was so interesting. He rolled with it, of course, but it just made it a little more complicated. And then in the bathtub itself, which is also a shower, you've heard me say how much I hate those like half glass, not really doors that don't cover the whole thing. Right. This had one of those, but it had a huge space underneath the door, like a big gap, no rubber or anything to help it stick to the tub. And so water just slid under there. So if you didn't have the water from the shower perfectly in the right place, or if you moved too much or you use the handheld thing for your hair, like you had to be really careful. So there were plenty of times, at least when I took a shower, where I was then cleaning the floor after. Yeah. Yeah. So just water in general was a frustration. Totally fine when you're hand washing dishes. No issues there.
On the other hand, we were able to drink tap water there.
That's so true. That's I should have made that my excellent. We got to drink the tap water. It was clear. It was clean. It tasted good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really nice because you can't do that in Dubai.
Well, anyway, I think that kind of wraps up this episode, the first of multiple episodes about our side trip to Spain that we never realized that we were going to have that as part of our adventure. Yeah. So, small silver linings here.
Yeah, we love Spain. Fell in love with it.
But in our next episode, we'll stay in Spain. Yep. And we'll talk a little bit more about what it was like kind of hunkering down and starting to kind of live life there. Yeah. In Benalmadena. And what it was like for us as we tried to make ourselves at home for however long we were going to be there.
Yeah. It's hopefully going to be a fun episode. Yeah. We'll see.
But until we get to that, remember, be excellent to each other.
Have a great week, everyone.